Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mila, you're at my book nook, and today I have a video that is the anti-TBR tag, and I've done this I believe twice before on my channel. So for some of these questions I think that my answer will roughly be the same, just because I'm very much in the majority in the sci-fi fantasy space, so a lot of the authors that are popular and stuff like that might repeat. However, I do have newer answers for some of the other questions. So if you watch my previous versions of this, and I'll link them down below if you want to watch them, and also sort of see my progression as a booktuber, which I think is very interesting, but I don't want to watch my old videos. But some of these might have either the same author or like a similar answer and stuff like that, because not much has changed since I first did this tag, I think the first time around, and also quite a bit has changed. So, including how comfortable I am on camera. So, without further ado, I'm just gonna pull myself forward a little bit. So, I will link all the questions down below and stuff like that. I don't know who started this anti-TBR tag or whatever. So yeah, I just know that a lot of people do it. And if I'm looking down, I have my tablet, so I have the questions and then I have my answers. And if I'm looking that way, it's to make sure that I'm in frame. So the first question I have is popular book or books everyone loves that you have no interest in reading. Now, there's no overlap as far as I understand from this question to the other ones. So I'll just continue with my answers. So first up, I have Zodiac Academy. I've heard a lot of things about the series, and I think that the thing that is not intriguing me at all is A, the amount of books there are, and B, the bully romance. I don't like bully romances for a variety of reasons, but which I'm not going to go into. But like, it gives me the ick. Okay, it just gives me this awful goosebump feeling, and I don't even want to think about it. Next, I have Haunting Adeline. I mean, I barely read romance. What makes you think I'm going to read dark romance? So there's that, and also certain things that people did with Haunting Adeline recently on like Bookstagram that just also gives me the ick. Next, we have Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. This is such an I'm gonna probably get flamed. I don't think that V.E. Schwab and I vibe as author and reader. I've read the first book of A Darker Shade of Magic, and I read her, it's like that music duology, that YA series, and I did not like that at all. I think I rated it high when I read it, because I think when I was younger and I first started Bookstagram, I felt sort of bad, and I felt like if I rated the books at the point that I really felt them to be personally, I would, I would not really have friends, Bookstagram wise. So instead I rated them higher than I thought deemed it necessary. So I can tell you right now, confidently, at the ripe age of 23, after almost 6 years of Bookstagramming, that I did not like her YA music monster duology, whatever it's called. And then lastly, I have Red Rising. I'm sorry, like, I will watch. There's the booktuber Daniel Green that does mega summaries. I'm just gonna watch those. I have no interest in this, to be honest. Like, I don't know, and I frankly don't care about it, So there's that. The next question I have is classical authors / books you have no interest in reading. I think these might overlap because I might have said something similar in the first two versions of this, but I have F. Scott Fitzgerald. We never read The Great Gatsby in high school, and I never felt called to The Great Gatsby in high school, or ever, really. So, I don't know. Fitzgerald just, I don't know. It's not vibing with me. Him and we don't vibe. Maybe one day I'll read The Great Gatsby, but right now it is not. It is not in the near future. I also have Salinger. I think that's the name. I think he wrote, Catch-22 or something like that. I tried reading it, and don't get me wrong, like, I use the phrase, oh, it's a Catch-22 or whatever, right? But, like, I've never read the book. And I don't know if the phrase comes from the book specifically, or if the book is building on the phrase. But yeah, so I don't know much, but I'm not particularly interested in reading or is it Catcher in the Rye that he wrote? Okay, I'm gonna add one more thing. I'm not interested in reading Catch-22 or Catcher in the Rye, and I think Salinger actually wrote Catcher in the Rye. So that's fun. I probably should have searched it up beforehand. Another author, I don't think she's necessarily she's more like a modern classic author, I guess. And that is Sylvia Plath. I have heard that some of her books have things about like eating and like borderline eating disorders, I think. And I am frankly not comfortable with reading that. And just the vibe that some of her books give, I am not comfortable with reading, I think, the contents of her book in a way, if that makes sense. This is just purely, I don't feel comfortable. And lastly, I have Golding, who is the author of Lord of the Flies. I also didn't read Lord of the Flies in high school. Like, we just sort of skipped over a lot of like the typical, required reading and stuff. But also I'm in Canada, so our required reading differs to the United States. But I'm just not interested in reading about a bunch of boys that are, trapped on an island. And then they kind of, yeah. I don't know. I think I'll just read the synopsis and spoil it for myself. Anyways, the next question is problematic authors you have no interest in reading. And these are quite, I think, some of them, if I remember correctly, some of them are actually overlapping from the first video, if I remember correctly. First, I have Colleen Hoover, which I feel like is a given. Y'all know me. I'm Colleen Hoover hater number one. Next, we have Sarah J. Maas. I do have to admit that I have read almost all of the Throne of Glass series, but the moment that it turned adult and more romance leaning than fantasy, and this was before all the allegations and all that stuff. I was like 16, okay, so don't blame. I don't blame people for having read these books and it catapulting them into reading, just as long as they recognize the harm that these books have done to certain communities, the harm that her actions have done to certain communities and certain people, and just, the harm that people do in defending her. It's just, I hope that makes sense. So Sarah J. Maas, never picking up anything by her again. Going back to Red Rising, I don't want to read anything by Pierce Brown. He seems like a cool dude and everything, but I can't justify reading a series that's about taking down a regime when he supports a certain state, a certain regime himself. So, it's did you did the point of your own books fly over your head? You know what I mean? If it wasn't clear, I hope I make it clear. And then lastly, we have, I don't even want to say his name. We're just gonna say he's the author of American Gods, Coraline, and Good Omens with the good Sir Terry Pratchett. May he rest in peace, and may the other one rest in pieces, because my god, disgusting. Next, we have an author you've read a couple of books from, but are not continuing. So I've read only one book from both. Well, no, that's a lie. I read 1.5 books from one of them, and I think I read one book from the other, and that solidified in the sense that, I just don't vibe with them. The first one I have is so unfortunate, and I hope she doesn't see this video. I have is H.M. Long, and I feel so bad because she's a Canadian author and she actually doesn't live too far from me based on where her book signings were and stuff like that. I don't think she lives super far from me. So I just feel bad because what if she stumbles upon this video and then I don't know, and then at some point I go closer to where she lives and then we end up bumping into each other and she's like, oh, I saw your video and you're not continuing. I just feel so bad. Anyways, the chances of that are low but never zero. Does that make sense? So I read her, I think it's called Hollow Smoke, and I enjoyed it, but it just felt me with a almost hollow feeling. I don't know if people have that, they just finish a book and it just do anything to them. And again, at the time, I think this was also a book club pick that year, and I think at the time I rated it higher because I didn't want people to like get mad at me for rating things low, but I've now realized that that just pushed me to read books that I didn't enjoy and rate them higher because I was afraid of what others thought of me. But now I don't care. Because if a book is bad, I will end up making a 40-minute video for you. Which brings me into the next author, and that is B. Fitzgerald. I am sure that she is a wonderful person. This is not an attack on her character. This is not an attack on her as a person. I read her debut, Girl Goddess Queen, which was a retelling of Hades and Persephone, but I can't even call it a retelling. It's like it's not even like, I can't even say it's inspired because it takes stuff from the story, but it also ignores fundamental connections between certain characters and stuff, especially like the gods, right? Let me see what it actually says. She has like 2 more books, I think. Yeah, she has 2 other books in the series. It's a series, my god. A fierce, fresh, and enormously fun YA fantasy reimagining from a growing TikTok superstar. So I think my marketing, I guess, what I was seeing or what was told to me through, word of mouth was that it was like a retelling. But even with it being a reimagining, it's very inconsistent. I don't know, like, if it was just a reimagining and she put a fresh spin on it and stuff like that, like, yes, but just the things that she took away from the mythology and the things that she added, they didn't pile up properly, right? Like, they didn't connect the way that she thought it would. And yeah, I think I gave this like 2 stars or something. 1 star. That's fun. I don't give 1 stars to many books. I think there's maybe this one. And I think at the end, I didn't even give Lightlark 1 star. So yeah, so B. Fitzgerald, I will link my review video down below if any of you want to watch it. Next, I have a genre you have no interest / genre you couldn't get into. And I'm going to tell y'all right now, I am a scaredy cat. I am such a scaredy cat, okay? Genuinely a scaredy cat. So the answer to this probably wouldn't have changed from the last time that I did this concept of video. So I will say it, and it is horror. I think I probably said like thriller or something like that in the other ones, but I think I'm okay with thrillers just as long as it's not gory and it's not like super duper frightening. Like, if it amps up my heart rate just a bit, that's fine, but not if it sends me into full-blown like panic attack, okay? Because there's a difference between like let me put it this way, right? I started rewatching Criminal Minds at some point, and there are little episodes that I will skip because of the subject matter and because of the way that they are progressing through the episode and the bits and pieces that they show of the crime versus like the story with the BAU. And I've like consistently skipped certain episodes because of the storyline or because of how like difficult it is to watch or because of how gory and how like detailed the crime is. And at some point I was rewatching and I was just so spooked. Like, I was just getting anxious for no reason. And I wasn't sleeping very well. And then I found out about the show Bones, right? And I watched it. I was like, this is like Criminal Minds, but it doesn't actually show much of the crime being done. Like, it'll show it in like flashbacks, but it's very minimal compared to Criminal Minds. So that's like the difference between like me reading mystery and some thrillers versus me reading like horror with like gore and stuff like that, So that's a big difference. I hope you guys enjoyed that comparison. So the answer to this is horror / stuff with body horror and just like gore and just like, yeah, not a fun stuff. Not a fun thing for me. 6, a book you have bought but will never read. I don't think I have that on my shelf right now. Off the top of my head, I don't think I have that because my shelves are fairly catered to my tastes. And I'm actually pretty like brutal with my unhauls. Like, I will actually, if I don't see myself reading the book like 2 years, then I will, get rid of it because I can always buy it again or I can find it on Libby or whatever, right? Like, I will figure out how to get it back or I'll go to like the secondhand bookstore. Like, you know what I mean? So there's options for me. So I don't have a book for this question because my shelves are pretty catered to my taste. 7. The question number 7 is a series you have no interest or one you've started but DNF'd. Convince me to, please guys, convince me to continue the series because I am not feeling it. I read the first Murderbot Diaries book, All Systems Red, and I thought it was cute. Like, I enjoyed it and I found it interesting what Martha Wells was saying with it. And I just found it kind of quirky and funny and kind of that kind of stuff. But I'm not a sci-fi person. I know it's not necessarily hard sci-fi to any extent, but also like I'm not interested in continuing the series. Like I have no interest in continuing the series. So I want you guys to like convince me in the comments to like continue the Murderbot Diaries. Because I don't know anything beyond the first book. And I enjoyed the first book. I enjoyed the first novella, and I thought it was a great palate cleanser and stuff. But I'm not convinced about the rest of the series. So please convince me in the comments down below, and I might think about it. So I might have a different answer for this next time I do this. And the last question I have is a new release you have no interest in reading. The first one I have is Silver Elite. I know everyone and their mother raved about this book, to be honest, but after seeing a review from a booktuber I watch and literally seeing one of my Bookstagrammer friends read it and have her reaction on like her story. If you look at my Goodreads for last year, I actually have, if you look at my Goodreads like read books, I have Silver Elite marked as read because I went through her stories, right? My Bookstagrammer friend's stories. And like, I basically read the book because she would put up like parts of the text, right? Like she would put up screenshots of the text and she would like put her thoughts and stuff like that, intersperse her thoughts on like her story and stuff like that. So like, I basically read the book over the amount of days that she read it, right? Every time her story would pop up on my feed. So Silver Elite is one I have no interest in, I guess at this point, rereading. Another one I have no interest in reading is Silver Cloak. I think this one was kind of, I guess, in a sense, mismarketed. I don't think people took it as literally as it was being in terms of what the magic system entails. So yeah, and I have a funny story. One of my friends who is, I'm so sorry, she's gonna kill me. I think she said that she recommended, she's Muslim by the way, okay? Her and her sister, her and her twin are Muslim. And she, I think either she or both of them like recommended Silver Cloak to another friend who I think might also be Muslim, but they didn't fully read like the synopsis or like didn't fully understand what the magic system entailed. Sorry, I'm just like airing their dirty laundry out. But anyways, it's such a funny situation. And every time I see this book, I think I'm gonna start laughing my head off. Anyways, love you guys. You know who you are. Anyways, and the last book I have for this is Metal Slinger. Carrie from Carrie Can Read did a whole like plot breakdown. And then it was re-released as like a traditionally published book. And then a lot of booktubers that I like watch occasionally, not like my usual rotation, because that's like what? That's usually Carrie, Katie, Sydney, and just like a couple of others. So some of the booktubers that I watch, sometimes on occasion, they like raved about this book and stuff like that. And they're like, oh my god, I'm so excited for this. And I'm just like, if it's as bad as the indie version is, yikes on bikes. Sorry, I'm just being very giggly for whatever reason. Anyways, that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know your answers to these questions and what you thought about my answers and stuff like that. I will link my other 2 versions of this, my previous ones, in the box down below and stuff like that. Follow me on all my socials, and as usual, I will see you in the next one. Happy reading.